I'm Jordan Wright. My work as a videographer, editor, and filmmaker have taken me around the world working with clients to create high-quality digital video content for their products and services. In this course, however, I'm going to be working with you. In-depth tips, tricks, and insights useful to a wide range of people wanting to create their own video-based content. Now, when most people think of video production, they think of expensive cameras, expensive lighting equipment, sound recording equipment, all this expensive equipment. And well, while that does add up, my goal and intention for this course is to not only provide you with the know-how to set up your own studio in your home or workspace, but also to give you some resources of equipment that won't break your budget. Now, I realize that for most people taking this course, you're not going to be shooting in a lot of locations or in a lot of different environments where you need a lot of equipment. In fact, I'm sure for most of you, you're going to be shooting in your home office or in your garage or to make a little studio in your house where you can easily do talking head webinars. So that's kind of the framework for the information that I'm going to be providing. I'm not going to be going into a lot of the jargon and technical rigmarole of shooting video and video production. Instead, I'm going to distill down all of the technical stuff to give you just the basics of what you need to still get professional results. Now, over the course of this series, we're going to be talking about the hardware, software, equipment that's involved in shooting video. Proper lighting, proper sound, proper camera equipment, all things that will give your video the look and feel of a professional quality video production. Now, we'll go into a lot of the technical know-how in some of the later videos in this course, but for this video, I want to focus on one of the most important aspects of the entire production, and that is the planning or pre-production. The planning and pre-production of a video project is very important, not only to save stress and headaches as you begin shooting and getting your videos edited, but it's also there to kind of give you a roadmap, so to speak, a way to see and ensure that the end result is going to match what your initial vision for the project was. So to get started in the planning and pre-production, let's start talking about the content that you're going to offer. One of the things that I think makes webinars so successful is that they provide high content for the viewer. So in this course, we're going to focus on content, types of content, ways to present that content, and how to organize your topics and ideas into a good format. Let's start by talking about types of content. When it comes to content, one of the most important things to think about is the type of content you want to provide. Now, there's a lot of different types of content, but I'm going to focus on just a few that I think are most applicable to most of you out there. The first type of content is a keynote presentation. Now, this is something that many of you might already have in your possession. Perhaps you've done a keynote address or some sort of presentation for a group of people, an organization perhaps, and you got video of it. That video could potentially be repurposed as a video you sell online. However, there's a couple of important things that you want to keep in mind if you're going to use an existing keynote presentation video. First of all, realize that what works in a live setting, for example, the energy or showiness of your face-to-face presentation, is going to get lost in a webinar style video. So you're going to want to be able to add in or take out some things from your keynote presentation to make it a little bit more engaging for the viewer to watch. For example, if the person introducing you went into details about how following your presentation there's going to be a reception and refreshments available, but please dispose of your trash in the trash cans, that information that might have been important in the live event isn't going to be important or even interesting to the viewer watching now. So it's important to cut that kind of fluff out of your video so that it doesn't become tedious to the person watching. This may seem like common sense, but you'd be surprised how often and easy it is to overlook that kind of stuff when you're taking a a pre-recorded presentation and transferring it to an online course. Another type of content you could offer is a training session. This allows you to pass on skills and knowledge through education. This could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes, depending on how much in detail you want to go into. And if you enjoy doing a training session and get good response on it, consider doing an entire training course. That's another type of video content you can offer. A training course is great because it allows you to go into much greater detail than you could in one single session, and it allows you to present the information in smaller chunks. You can break it up into different topics over time. You could present a 5-week or 7-week course, for example. It's up to you. One final type of content that you might consider offering is doing interviews with experts. While this is something that wouldn't necessarily make for great continuous video, you wouldn't want to say do 5 weeks or 7 weeks of interviews, it's good to have one of those thrown in every now and then just to offer someone with expert advice on a specific topic. This could be a sit-down conversation with a person or just having another person in this two-shot. Whatever the case may be, doing interviews with experts is a good way to offer more insight to your viewers. Now that you have some ideas of different types of content you can offer, let's go into discussing how to organize your topics and points you're going to talk about. As I mentioned earlier in this video, the more focus and planning you can do ahead of time before you start shooting or getting in front of a computer to edit, the better your end result is going to be, and the happier you're going to be in the long run. So it's important to take the ideas that are floating around in your head and get them out on paper or in some kind of fashion so you can organize them into a cohesive outline. Let's start by talking about how to get ideas that might be floating around in your head or even written down on paper in a format where you can start organizing them. It's good to start with writing everything out on note cards. Every topic or talking point that you plan on using, write out on a separate note card or sticky note, and then paste those to either a bulletin board, a whiteboard, or a wall in your room. Once you have everything written out, you can then begin placing them in an order that seems suitable to you. This is a great way to start when you just have a lot of ideas, but you don't really know exactly what the format or order of them is going to be. Now, when it comes to brainstorming new ideas, it might also be helpful to do a mind map. Now, you can do a mind map using a blank sheet of paper and a pencil by simply drawing a circle in the middle, writing out the topic that you plan on talking about, and then drawing lines out from that circle of different key points or ideas that would relate to that topic. If you prefer using a computer, there's some great mind mapping software out there. I'll provide some links in the resources, but it might also be worthwhile for you to just search around and find a mind mapping software that fits your needs, your budget, and your operating system. Once you have your thoughts and ideas fleshed out in some form, whether it be a mind map or sticky notes on the wall, it's then a good idea to transfer those into a single page outline. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail telling you how to do an outline because I'm sure many of you watching have your own preferred method for doing an outline. I will provide some samples in the resources just in case you need a template to get started, but suffice it to say that the main idea of an outline is to just write everything out that's on the note cards or in the mind map on one sheet of paper just to get everything in one place laid out. Once you get everything laid out and organized, it's much easier to start working on the flow, the structure, and the timing of your video course or your presentation. That's something that we'll go into further detail on in the next video. But for now, while we're focusing on content, let's go into talking about different ways to present your content. So let's talk about some different ways of presenting content. First of all, the most obvious way, and perhaps the most common, is doing a talking head video, much like what I'm doing. A talking head video is great because it allows you to connect one-on-one with the viewer and make them feel like you're having a conversation with them or giving them a private instruction. It's important, if you're going to present in a talking head format, that you also think about breaking up your video content so that it's not one continuous shot of you talking to the camera. Just like I mentioned in the keynote presentation, this can get very tedious for someone to watch. So it's important to break it up either with multiple camera angles to cut in between, or to have slides from a presentation, having images or video to cut in, anything like that that would support what you're talking about, but would also offer a little more visual or a change in visual, are a good thing to include even in a talking head presentation. Another good way of presenting information is through using slides, either from PowerPoint, Keynote, or some software like that. These are great because it allows you to cut in titles or graphics that relate to what you're talking about, but that also allow the viewer to get a break from just seeing you in one shot. It's important, however, to keep in mind that just because a slide worked as a visual reference in your live presentation doesn't mean that it's going to look as good in a video. Let me explain what I mean. In a live presentation, a slide is merely a visual reference. People aren't focused on it for a long period of time. However, in a webinar, if I cut a slide in, you're going to only see that slide. You're only focused on that slide. So if I have too much information on there or anything that's a little overwhelming for the person to read, it might get lost. Instead, it's a better idea to have more slides with fewer information on them, maybe just 1 or 2 titles for each slide. This is much easier for a person to digest when they're watching it on video. Another way of presenting information is through doing screen capture. This can be especially effective if you're demonstrating software or something that is on your computer screen that you need to show the viewer. Using screen capture software is a great way of showing people in real time what you're doing on your computer screen. A screen capture could be something that you use for the entire 30-minute or hour-long session with a voiceover narration, of course, or it might just be something that you cut in from time to time as it's needed. This will really depend on your needs and exactly what content you're going to be offering. Another option for presenting content is through using a voiceover narration from your voice through a microphone that's pre-recorded. This can be especially helpful if you're going to be using screen capture software and showing a computer screen, or if your presentation or webinar is predominantly a slide presentation, then having a voiceover narration over the slides can be very beneficial. It's important to point out, though, that knowing the best way to present your content is really dependent upon what content you're offering and the type of video you're wanting to produce, whether it be a keynote speech, a training session, a training course, or an interview. One final thing I would like to mention in terms of presenting your content is the importance of including resources. Having exercises, worksheets, activities, things that people can do on their own, either during the course while you're explaining something to them, or immediately after the course before they watch the next lesson. This can be very beneficial to give people an interactive experience. I've talked about how it's important to make people feel like they're engaged in your videos, so they're not just objectively watching, but actually involved in the lesson. So giving them exercises to do, notes, a handout of some kind, can make them feel like this is a real experience and not just something that they're watching for an hour. So in this lesson, we've talked about different types of content, ways you can present it, and good ways of organizing your topics and key points. In the next lesson, we're going to go into more about the structure and timing of your presentation or your training course. So now that you have some options of the types of content and ways you can present it, hopefully your mind is flowing with ideas of exactly what you want to present. And if that's the case, then you're ready for the next lesson. I'll see you then.